Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Terrestrial Material, where we talk about the material us terrestrials are interested in. It is another Sunday at 1 o'clock. So what are we doing here? Well, we're going to go over this week in the news, which has been unbelievable, to say the least. Welcome, by the way, Rotary Motion. John, good to see you. I know you're saying you're going to be late. You're watching for the football. John P. Adventures, Sapphire Elf, I see you guys in there. Dude, this week has been... it's been outrageous. It started off very slow, in my opinion. I mean, we got this tweet from Elizondo, which we haven't heard much from him, but we get this prediction tweet that comes out, which we'll go over. We'll read it. And then the AARO report ends up dropping. I mean, I know we talked about it last week being, coming out on the 7th, but it was a little bit late, right? So, I guess better late than never. At least we get to hear what they're going to say, even though, as we all know, we're probably not going to agree too much with what they're saying here, which we'll go over. So to describe, I guess, my feeling this afternoon here is there's like 15 things that I want to say, and I want to say them all at the same time. If you ever had that feeling, it's hard. Like when I sat down to kind of, put everything into an order that I felt like made sense. It was just so difficult, dude, because we're going to have to jump around a little bit to be able to make, I think, a few of the points that I think do matter. And we are going to pull up the AARO report. I went through it all a little bit last night, and then a lot more of it again this morning to kind of highlight, make some notes on some things that I thought were important. Now, I will preface with this. We usually try to go an hour at this. We might end up going a little bit longer today, guys. We may, because there's just so much stuff that I want to talk about. And then also, as I'm trying to remember at the start of every show, like, share, subscribe, kick it out there for us. Anything like that helps. We definitely do appreciate it over here at Terrestrial Material. So before much more ado, as they say, let's get over to our big screen, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the first moment we want to go over. Whoosh. I need to add that sound effect that I have for that, but every time I bring it into OBS, it screws the sound effect up, so we don't get the whoosh from the UFO in the center. But however, nevertheless, this is where we wanted to start, and obviously the thumbnail. I mean, this was really, really big news. Why is it not letting me? Come on, let me zoom in here. There we go. Always wants to argue with me. Okay, so over here on the right, guys. We're going to continue complaining about this until Twitter changes this. When I click this tweet, I want it to come center. Oh, you can't see our Sora video just yet. Yeah, our Sora video of the week, I will say this up front, that'll be more towards the end, guys. We're going to get to more bookmarks and reactions and stuff like that at the end. I guess, you know what? Before we read this tweet, I want to start off with Elizondo. I'm going to give you guys the order. Then we're going to break into the AARO report. And then we're going to go into more bookmarks, more recent history of like topics and news that have come around. And we'll get some reactions and things like that along the way. So that way you have a little bit of a guide of where I'm trying to keep this train on the tracks, because there's so much to go over. So let's read this. Lou Elizondo, friends. It's always most quiet before the storm. There's no going back. Some members of Congress finally know what's going on. Some officials in the executive branch are scrambling. Efforts are underway below the wave tops, the results of which will break the surface and reveal themselves at a time of our choosing. This is going to be an interesting year for those who continue to obfuscate. We are hard at work for you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but these predictions of the coming year, or even like 5 years out from now, like where Sol is saying 2030 or 6 years at that point. Yeah, a little over 5 years. These predictions typically just don't come true. I can't think of any disclosure prediction that actually worked out. I'm getting tired of seeing these. And I think the effect that Elizondo is trying to get out of us with this is to, keep us excited. Like he's saying, the quiet before the storm. He's acknowledging that there's not a lot of real UFO news that's going on. But for me, it's doing the opposite. For me, I get these tweets and I go, oh, nothing's coming. Because this stuff just doesn't pan out. And regardless of how you feel about Lou, I mean, I personally think that, and we'll go over this more with the AARO report, because I think AARO does make a couple of good assertions throughout the report. But I agree that there's just been so much evidence that Elizondo hasn't been the most truthful, to be very nice about it. with a lot of his actions and just a lot of the rhetoric that we've been getting from him. So this stuff just at this point becomes the opposite reaction, and I'm sure that's not what's intended. But when I look at the wording on this, where he says it's always most quiet before the storm, I kind of feel like Lou's a little out of touch with Twitter, the community, with YouTube. I mean, the main UFO community to me is I don't deal with Reddit very much. I'm sure that there's some conversation there, but I think most of us would agree that Twitter and YouTube is where the majority of this UFO community resides, right? And it's not quiet. It might be quiet in new revelations or new videos from Corbell or things like that, but it is not quiet. People are very upset. And a lot of people are getting very, very upset that we're continuing to get more predictions like this from Lou, or, you know, we're getting these promises that Grush has an op-ed that's coming out. And I guess you can see around the screen the Joe Merza tweet there. Burleson, I've got Grush's op-ed, and he's kind of going over an Ask-a-Poll thing that we'll pull up. But it's just the community is at each other's throats. And a lot of that is because we're just not getting the ball down the field, or we're not really getting this hard firsthand evidence that everyone really wants. And so I don't agree with him that it's very quiet. I think that's it's just out of touch. I mean, I know what he means by that, but I just think he needs to look a little bit deeper, dig a little bit deeper, man. The community doesn't need predictions right now. The community needs results. We need effort to bring forward just some new things to sink our teeth into, some new evidence, what have you. It says there's no going back. I mean, is there no going back? I mean, there probably isn't for some of us, right? You know, I mean, I've had my sighting. I haven't talked about it on this channel yet. Like I said, I'm still waiting to do that. For a good time, I'll do a video about it, I guess. But is there no going back? I mean, AARO has done a tremendous job, surprisingly enough, for a lot of people. A lot of people are taking what AARO's saying at face value. And like I said, I don't want to go too far ahead, but I got to dip into a little bit. See, you guys seeing how hard this is to kind of like piece this out into a particular order? They just overlap, but yeah, I don't know if there's no going back. Maybe for some, but I think there are a lot of people and a lot of mainstream people that are probably deciding to step back and maybe take a break from the topic for a little while. And I don't think that's overall very good. This is the executive branch of scrambling. Efforts are underway below the wave tops, the results of which will break the surface and reveal themselves at a time of our choosing. It's just like at our choosing? Wouldn't you want to choose to do that now? Instead of writing this tweet, Lou, drop the information now. If it's there, if that's something that you have, if you have something that can bring disclosure forward, how much longer do these people want us to sit around here and wait on our hands and continue to listen to the situation that they're spewing? It is very, very irritating. The word games, the predictions, you know, as he says, we're hard at work for you. Man, I don't know. I don't really see that right now. And I don't know how you guys feel about it either. Look at chat a little bit. Rody Motion, same response for 80 years, gives nothing. Wordsmith dance with poetry. Yeah, and this kind of brings up the first thing that I want to pull up here about this is just to prove the point. And like I said, lately I haven't been as much of a fan of Green Street, but I still think that this breakout Green Street does is a good representation of why I feel the way that I do about Lou right now in December 2017. And we brought this up on the podcast probably 2 months ago. Here's December 2017. We may not be alone. August 2018. I think disclosure's already occurred. Disclosure's already occurred based off what, Lou? December 2018 disclosure has already occurred. Okay, now he's moving from thinking that it has. 2019, a lot of people ask me, so do you think disclosure has occurred? And I think it has occurred. 2021 is shaping up to be a banner year. Now, this is very similar to what we're looking at in the tweets. You know, hey, this is what's coming, a banner year. We've seen this. I mean, look, I'll be fair. It's not like nothing has come out, but as far as banner year, I mean, to me, am I crazy? I'm thinking that means firsthand evidence. First, we're getting to see some photos of the bodies of the crafters. That'd be a banner year to me. A banner year to me, guys, is not hearing more stories. I've heard all these stories. You guys have heard all these stories. We've heard this stuff for 80 years. So I that just doesn't resonate with me. January 2022, I think 2022 is going to be an even better year. We've got so many things planned. I mean, you can keep going down the list. I mean, but I think the point's proven, a point made, that it's just not, we're just not getting it. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel this way, where they're starting to get sick of this stuff, man. And when you have heavy hitters like AARO's report that come out and do take a shot over the bow at the entire topic. I mean, the entire topic. You guys are going to see when we open up this report, which I will pretty momentarily here. They're trying to go from start to finish, and it's only volume 1. So there needs to be some kind of a response. There needs to be some kind of response. We'll get to this stuff because there's a lot of it nearing the end of the other news. However, before we pull up the report, I do want to play this clip because I think this is a really good representation of the past. And it's always good to remember our past, right, before we go into our present. Because if we forget it, it leads to a lot of problems. So, yeah, and it's not just Lou. Yeah, Corbell, same thing. It's a good point, Rotary. Good point. We don't want to take any bad credit away. We want to make sure everybody gets their bad credit. But let's go through this clip here. This is from, I believe, the Rockefeller Initiative, right? Caused this. This is where they look back at Project Mogul, and this was in the 90s where they were kind of Roswell case closed. I believe is really what this was about. So you get to hear our Colonel John Haynes here, Air Force Declassification Review Team Deputy Chief, and I want you to hear this and then remember this as we start to go through the report.
Around at it, but quite frankly, this is probably what it was.
You keep using the word probably. And you say case closed. Those two don't jive.
Yeah,
How do
right.
you reconcile that?
Okay, let me say, from the Air Force perspective, that's exactly what it was.
Sir, does the Air Force
And I don't mean to be rude about that. I want you to understand we are very, very proud
You don't mean to be rude about that.
of this report. We think in our office that this answers lots of questions, and it answers them logically and with integrity. And one other thing I might add is if you want to do your own research, in the back is a complete technical report bibliography, and also there is a terrific set of endnotes.
Terrific.
And I recommend that if you're interested in this, that you take these and you do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
does the Air Force have any evidence at all of any sort of spacecraft wreckage or extraterrestrial presence on Earth?
Yes, sir.
And
No, sir. Yeah. Very interesting. No evidence. This is most likely what it is. This is what we think it is. You'll see if you guys took some time to be able to go through the report, that this is very similar to what we were hearing. So let's break this thing open, shall we? Now, listen, we're not going to go through this line by line because it's going to take way too long. And to be honest with you, a lot of it is stuff that I know that most of the people who view this probably already know about these programs, know a lot of the histories of them. So we want to stick with some real interesting stuff, and we will cover a little bit of stuff that's been known. But I guess the main point I want to make is I'm not here to bore you because this could be boring to some people, but there is some importance. So the first highlight item here, obviously, is Volume 1. And this is important for the simple fact of a lot of the complaints that we're getting right now, you're hearing out there, and this is my complaint as well, is that this report is not providing documentation. We're not getting evidence for that these are how they got to these conclusions. They're not really coming to we're not getting the analytics that we need, right? We're getting a very, very big trust me bro across this whole process, which is very funny from the start of this, because this is what each side complains about each other, which is Grush and Elizondo and everybody always says, well, they're always just saying, trust me, bro, trust me, bro. And, you know, you got to listen to the Department of Defense. You got to look at the facts. And then these are supposedly the facts. And the Department of Defense is saying, trust me, bro. So this is a very, very poignant part for me, and brings a lot of the frustration that I originally started to get when I was going through this report. So volume 1 there. And obviously there's a lot of, like, you know, you got the index here, what's going on. And they say this too. The report represents volume 1 of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolutions Office historical report, which reviews the records of the United States government pertaining to unidentified, or UAP. In completing this report, AARO reviewed all official U.S. government investigatory efforts since 1945. Guys, they went all the way back, supposedly, to 45. Which, look, I am in the middle on this. I mean, if it ends up being government tech and we somehow have been able to figure this stuff out and everything, that's fine if we come to that conclusion. I'm really not biased in that sense. But you're going to have to prove that to me. You're going to really have to prove that to me. Ever since 45. So I do want to commend them from going back, because I will say this, a lot of the skeptics nowadays won't do that. A lot of the skeptics nowadays are kind of just stopping at OSAP and not going further back in these other cases. So, hey, let's be fair here. Credit where credit's due. Rotary says, got to protect sources. Sources sometimes don't protect themselves. Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point, though, where it's like we really, really need to get the truth, though. Like, how much longer do we really want to sit around and just wonder? I don't know how well you guys can see this. Let me try to zoom in here on this a little bit as I'm noticing. Because I'll have this up on the other monitor, and then I'll read it off my main. Let's go up a little bit more here. Okay. So they've went back a real long way here. Volume 2 will provide analysis of information acquired by AARO after the date of publication of Volume 1. So a lot of these complaints, like I said, we're just talking about this report right now. If later on down the road we get them, and we got to come back and change our mind, guys. You know, we got to come back and give the credit where it's due. So section 2, the executive summary, this was a couple of parts that I thought were actually interesting on it. AARO found no evidence that any U.S. government investigation, academic-sponsored research, or official review panel has confirmed that any sighting of UAP represented extraterrestrial technology. Now, although many UAP reports remain unsolved or unidentified, AARO assesses that if more and better quality data were available, most of these cases, also could be identified and resolved as ordinary objects or phenomena. Sensors, visual observations are imperfect. The vast majority of cases lack actionable data. They lack, or the data available is limited or poor quality. Sounds a lot like case closed to me. Sounds a lot like case closed to me. And I do want to put this right up front as well. Look at the wording here. Extraterrestrial technology. They're being very, very specific when it comes to that. And we know right now a lot of the conversation, the topic is people are wondering if it's interdimensional. Is this angels, demons? Are we seeing these things throughout history? Are they crypto-terrestrial? Are they here? Are they underground? Do they live here? Were they here before us? I mean, if they're on this planet before us, they might not be lying here, right? That's interesting. Or even AI. I mean, if it ended up being, AI created craft from the future, advanced AI from the planet was able to come back, like some people are speculating that too. This would also not mean anything. This whole thing changes if you change this word. So much of this changes at this point. So it's very, very interesting on that. But they're saying, hey, if we have more data, we can go a little bit further. Maybe we'll see more data, but it's kind of an oxymoron, though, right? Because they're like, hey, we're going to give you more data in 2, but we don't have enough data in 1. Interestingly enough, everything is loose in writing, using main terms, but have no backing. Yeah, it's really interesting. These were a couple parts. Maybe I should go up to the top here. So I think this was kind of a rundown of a couple of examples of I think what irritates people about this the most, we'll start up here at the top of the yellow, alleged UAP intelligence community document, an alleged 1961 special national intelligence estimate that was leaked to online sources and suggests the extraterrestrial nature of UFOs is inauthentic. Okay, well, Kirkpatrick, AARO, how do we know it's inauthentic? Give us volume 2. You'll notice this is kind of like my thing too, as I continue to go down through this, I was almost like, how can you release volume 1 without volume 2? I needed them both, right? To really understand and just give more credence here. And I hate to harp on it, but it's such a theme throughout this whole entire process of this document. Second one, aliens present during a DoD technology test. This is what's alleged. AARO reviewed information related to an account of an interviewee overhearing a conversation about technology test at a military base where aliens, and they're specific about aliens again, allegedly were observing, and AARO judges that the interviewee misunderstood the conversation. Okay, how did we come to that conclusion? Next one, claimed that a military officer touched an off-world craft. An interviewee claimed that a named former military officer in detail how he physically touched an extraterrestrial spacecraft is inaccurate. The claim was denied on the record by the named former officer who recounted a story of when he touched an F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter that could have been misconstrued by the interviewee, though the named former officer does not recall having this conversation with the interviewee. So maybe there were people that got behind the scenes and changed their stories. I don't know. It's there. Once again, can we get a little bit more clarification on that, of how they know that process is there? Hold on a second. My phone is freaking, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for the phone. Yeah, I'm trying to fit all this in as much as I can. And then the next one, test of off-world technology. An interviewee claimed that he witnessed what he believed to be the testing of extraterrestrial technology at a U.S. government facility. Almost certainly was an observation of an authentic, non-UAP related technology test that strongly correlated in time, location, and description provided in the interviewee's account. So why do I pick these 4 things? Like I said, just because these are big claims that AARO is making. These are huge claims. And we gotta have some more substance. We can't go after Lou and then not go after these guys too. So yeah, very interesting stuff. And there's more of these, and I've got the link to this whole entire document in the description. If you go down below, it's there. They're worried about their jobs to talk. Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you, Rotary, but we're just at that point where I feel like if you want my honest opinion, somebody's going to end up having to just take a fall. It sucks, man. You know, if they really have the stuff, they really got the goods, they're going to have to go ahead and probably take a fall on this one to really get it out, because this process has been, 7+ years in the making. The DOD, the Pentagon, like I've harped on this before, they're very, very smart. And this has been a process that they've been putting together. They've been game planning this thing, because I've heard people talk in spaces about that. They say, what's taken them 7 years? Well, because they've had to look at this entire process. Like, how do you cover up this entire process this time? It's different from Blue Book days. It's not the same as the 60s, guys. We didn't have social media back then. We didn't have just the open media that we have now, as far as like, people on YouTube, podcasts, the ability to get all this information out. It's like trying to control a virus. It spreads so quick and it spreads everywhere, where it used to be they had the program, they controlled the media completely. There was only a few places you could go. It was so much more easily containable to where it's not now. So now you have to try to pull all of that in. And I'm sure even with how smart they are, they're people, that's a tough task to figure out how to do that. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but right now it's seeming to be successful for a lot of people. Not for me, probably not for us here in the chat. But you would be surprised how many people are taking this at face value. Next part here. Like I said, there was a lot of these notes, guys. There's like 65 pages. So give me a second to give myself a little refresher as we're going. AARO's examination of the historical context of UAP investigations from 1945 to the present reveals that these factors, some common to and distinct between the earlier era of UAP investigations, which is pre-2009, and the modern era post-2009, undoubtedly influenced the direction of these investigations. The volume of and spikes in sightings, I should have highlighted more of this, and the overall public interest, concern, and debate. These periods are divided into pre and post 2009 timeframes because this is the year of the stand-up of the Advanced Aerospace Weapon Systems Application, AAWSAP, and ATIP efforts. I should have highlighted all that too. This is kind of a good example of why I've been saying, hey, you know, there's more to this topic than the last, 7 years plus. You have all the way back from, the 90s and 80s, 70s, all the way back down to 45. So it's just interesting, they are separating out these times, which is pretty good. Prior to AAWSAP ATIP, there was about a 40-year gap in UAP investigation programs since the termination of Project Blue Book in 1969. Now, there's some people that don't agree with that. There wasn't a 40-year gap. Some people believe that the working group, the aviary, these were programs that were, or at least groups that were studying the programs for the government. So the 40-year gap is interesting. I don't know if the working group and all of these things, that we've been hearing about over time is exactly what's going on. But I have a hard time believing that if they thought there was anything to this, that they just kind of stopped looking into it after sightings continued to roll in for 40 years. There has to be something in this 40-year gap that we're not getting to. And that's probably, something they're probably not interested in talking to us about. Or he says it will come out. I'm trying to get to chat too as we're going. It'll come out. I'm waiting on the next cell phone video that. I get you, dude. Cell phones. I'll tell you what. I guess to tangent just for a second. Yeah, I hear everybody say, we have these cell phones. We should have all the good footage UFOs and all the stuff like that. Dude, cell phone video sucks. It's terrible. And especially if you don't know what you're doing with it with a camera, if you're holding it and it's bouncy and stabilization's getting better. It's great, but when you zoom in, you can still see it's a mess. Resolution still sucks on phones. It's nowhere near where I think we could really start to get we can start to kind of get picky, and being like, we should have more of this at this point. All right. Now, the next highlighted area, AARO assesses that some portion of sightings since the 1940s have represented misidentification of never-before-seen experimental and operational space, rocket, and air systems, including stealth technologies and the proliferation of drone platforms. From the 1940s to the 1960s especially, the United States witnessed a boom in experimental technologies driven by World War II and the Cold War. Yeah, but I'm assuming that our technology has boomed, right? But what we're not seeing is crafts doing 90-degree turns. Where is that technology? We're not seeing anything being upgraded as far as like vehicles. Yeah, they look cooler, right? But we're still looking at, blowing an engine out the back, and we're still looking at wings. And there's tons and tons of Foo Fighters and there's sightings that have been over throughout the years that don't represent, in my opinion, anything that looked like we had that kind of technology back then. We don't have anything that represents that, in my opinion. We're still seeing wings. We're still seeing tails, seeing rotors. no rotor, no tail, no wings. We're still seeing that. Many of these technologies fit the description of stereotypical unidentified flying objects, UFOs. It is understandable how observers unfamiliar with these programs could mistake sightings of these new technologies as something extraordinary, even otherworldly. Once again, can I get a little proof of that? Can I get a little proof of that? This was interesting to me. I had never heard of Project Bear. In this part, they're kind of going through more of the history from start to finish, kind of on just what the government's done. Obviously, we see Project Twinkle, Project Grudge is there, Project Sign. We've heard all these programs, right? So they're giving you a little bit of a synopsis of what's going on. This was a cool one. Let me guys know in the chat, or let me know maybe in the comments even if you're watching this, maybe not live. Have you ever heard of this Project Bear? So late 1951, late 1954. Background: Project Bear was an informal name given by Captain Ruppelt, chief of Project Grudge, to a contract he created with the Battelle Memorial Institute. Oh, there's Battelle again, interesting enough, to provide scientific support to new Project Grudge. BMI provided technical support, studied the reliability of the interviewee, information recall from UFO sightings, created an improved briefing questionnaire for observers, and developed a computer punch card system. This system helped automate the statistical study of all UFO reports in Project Grudge, Holdings, and those in Project Blue Book. BMI, the Body Mass Index, Battelle, released a report under the cover of ATIC to maintain its anonymity. Completed in 1954, the report was titled Special Report Number 14. So let's look at the results of that, right? Project Bear report was based on a statistical analysis of UFO sightings and contained graphs showing their frequency and distribution by time, date, location, shape, color, duration, azimuth, and elevation. It concluded that all cases that had enough data were resolved and readily explainable. The report assessed that if more data were available on cases marked unknown, most of those cases could be explained as well. It also concluded that it was highly probable that any of these cases represented technology beyond their present-day scientific knowledge. Can we get some of those graphs? I'm going to say this, guys, throughout this whole thing. Some of the graphs on the shape, the color, the duration. Come on. Let's see it. Let's see it. But interesting enough, I didn't know this program existed. Did you guys even know this existed? BMI had teleportation years back of some type. Man, it's possible. It's possible, you know. God, guys, there's so much. Okay. Now this part of the report made a lot of waves. A lot of waves. And you're probably going to hear, if you get out there amongst the community, this being referenced probably the most. So initially, Greenstreet, for me, and I still think he did do a lot of really great research on this, and I think he does deserve the credit that went along with this. And to me, it feels like AARO maybe copied some of his homework here a little bit. But also, James Lukatsky shed a little bit of light on this for us already as well. But this is going to break down the OSAP ATIP kind of debate, where everyone's been asking, are they two different programs? Are they the same program? I've held since I heard Lukatsky say that they were, and Senator Harry Reid say it was a nickname. ATIP was a nickname. I've always believed that. So I agree with AARO on this, but I only agree with it because I've got some other research outside of the document itself. So this is note on program names. The names OSAP and ATIP have been used interchangeably for the name of this program, including in official documentation. Unlike OSAP, ATIP was never an official DoD program. So unlike OSAP, ATIP was never an official DoD program. I think I read that bad the first time, so I want to reiterate. However, after OSAP was canceled, the ATIP moniker was used by some individuals, guess who, associated with an informal, unofficial UAP community of interest within the DoD that research UAP sightings from military observers as part of their ancillary job duties. This effort was not recognized official program. It had no dedicated personnel or budget. You know, I can't argue with them here. I think they maybe got something right throughout this entire process. Because, I mean, you see it right here at the direction of Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. You know, they're talking about, obviously, the $22 million. That went to OSAP. Nothing past ATIP. I believe him on that. But like I said, it's all because we get that extra knowledge. Now, this is another hot topic you might hear a little bit about. After OSAP ATIP was terminated, its supporters unsuccessfully attempted to convince DHS to support a new version of the effort dubbed Kona Blue. if you remember back to Lukatsky's first interview, and that was, I think, with the George Knapp and the Skinwalkers of the Pentagon, they were going over this book, which is where Lukatsky talks about this separation between OSAP and ATIP. In that interview where he kind of makes the delineation, he talks about how they tried to continue the program. They just couldn't get the money. And essentially when they tried to change the program, they tried to go to this new Kona Blue. So if you hear Kona Blue, that's what it's in reference to. Now, a little further down the document, we're going to get a better description here of what Kona Blue's efforts were. And to be honest, from what I'm reading from the efforts that they were trying to do, they seemed pretty legitimate to me, in the sense of, like, it sounded like good ideas for what they were trying to do. Maybe we can jump to that and try to get to that. Oh God, I'm seeing this red lettering down here, or this red highlight, and this is a big part of the document that's coming up. So I'm excited to kind of go over with you guys. But down the way, because I don't want to skip that part because it is interesting. We'll learn a little bit more about Kona Blue. All right. Now in this report, this wasn't only just, and I'm trying to give you guys, like I said, a really good synopsis here within the hour here. Foreign and academic investigatory efforts. So they did take a look at kind of what was happening around the world a little bit. Just for instance, Canada's Sky Project 2023 is currently ongoing, and the program released its findings in 2024. But then this was like a contrast to me, and this is why I selected this out of all of this. Canada's Project's second story, 1952 to 1954. An advisory committee that advised the government never reached any significant conclusions. So in the 50s, Canada didn't come to any conclusions. But in 2023, they're back looking at it again. It's like, it's so interesting. Even our government, I mean, we keep saying for decade after decade, there's nothing here. Yet we continue to look at it. You know what I mean? It's so crazy. It's so contradictory to me. There's a lot of people that think that there's stuff going on here. And so we really want to make sure that we're getting a full story and getting that data to go along with it to maybe hopefully reach a conclusion at this at some point. How you doing, Jeff Garvey? Good to see you, brother. Dawn, good to see you as well. I don't know if I've seen Dawn in chat before, but welcome. Now, let's get to this, because this stood out to me. And I will preface this where I could be wrong, but when I read this, I haven't heard anyone else talk about this yet. And this is potentially a really big deal. So as of September 17th, 2023, AARO interviewed approximately 30 individuals. AARO categorized these individuals into 3 tiers. Tier 1, interviewees are those who have spoken with congressional staff or members of Congress and have been subsequently referred to AARO. Tier 2, interviewees are those who have been referred to AARO by Tier 1 interviewees. Tier 3 interviewees are AARO-generated interviewees that have been corroborating touch point to the principal and integrated, I'm going to lose it all in my speech in right here, integrated narrative of reports from Tier 1 and Tier 2 interviewees. This is important. Priority is given to those interviewees who claimed first-hand knowledge of government programs, events, or details about any resulting material. Let me read that again. Priority is given to those interviewees who claimed first-hand knowledge of government programs, events, details about any resulting material. David Grush was not given priority, according to this. David Grush is famous, popular guy. Everyone's talking about him. But according to AARO, he would not be given Tier 1 priority. Now, in the red, I highlighted the red here because this is a big deal. Interviewees relaying second or third-hand knowledge are lower in priority, but AARO has and will continue to schedule interviews with them nonetheless. Wow. Is it possible that Grush is telling the truth, and we might have a little bit of a clue here that he hasn't been interviewed. Does that not blow your mind that that's possible? From what I'm reading right here, it's possible. I don't know how this has been missed, man. I mean, maybe people are just taking it at face value that Grush was already interviewed because he was popular. But this just brought up, like, when I read this morning, guys, I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding. So he could still be out there. This topic is insane. This whole process is so crazy, man. But yeah, if you take anything away from this, or if I mean, look, if I'm wrong and I'm missing something throughout a document that's more of that gives more clues so that Grush was actually interviewed already, okay, I'll back off of this. But I still think this isn't going to get the coverage that it needs, and it's really, really huge. But you just wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. He's too famous. I think they would have got to Grush first, but that's not the way they're saying they're doing it. Does it say anywhere that they're giving priority to famous people? No, it doesn't say that. We'll get to the next area here. So secondary narrative. The other narrative is that a cluster of UAP sightings that occurred in close proximity to U.S. nuclear facilities. Okay, this is important. All right. So a lot of us have been, complaining about looking back into the old topics. I have been too, or old incidents, for instance. And it looks like they have here, and I'm really, really happy that they're going over these. The other narrative is that a cluster of UAP sightings that occurred in a close proximity to U.S. nuclear facilities have resulted in the malfunctioning and destruction of nuclear missiles in a test reentry vehicle. AARO interviewed 5 former United States Air Force members who served in and around the mountain. Stupid joke. In and around U.S. intercontinental ballistic missiles silos at Malmstrom, and Ellsworth, Vandenberg, and Minot U.S. Air Force bases between 1966 and 1977. Some of these individuals claim UAP sightings near the silos, while others claim UAP disruptions to ICBM operations. Specifically, they said the ICBM launch control facilities went offline or experienced total power failure. Additionally, this is a super famous case. Everybody knows this case. Additionally, one interviewee and a U.S. Air Force videographer claimed to have observed and recorded a UAP destroying an ICBM loaded with a dummy warhead mid-flight. God, I'm going to forget his name, but I feel like, I'm not the greatest with names. But I can't give it to you right now. But he's a famous guy too. AARO is researching U.S. and adversarial activity related to these events, including any U.S. programs that tested defensive ballistic missile capabilities. Okay, so they're looking into it. If you remember from the initial, AOIMSG report, congressional hearing that they did, they were asked flat out, hey, the Malmstrom incident, he goes, I'm losing his name too off the top of my head. It was a congressman that said, well, I'm someone who wants to know, look into it. And so here they are. So I guess they're going to at least look up at that. The findings. AARO investigated and reached conclusions on the majority of the claims made in these narratives. In most cases, AARO was able to locate the companies, people, and programs that were conveyed to AARO through interviews. AARO will report the results of the unresolved allegations in Volume 2. Boy, if you ever had blue balls in your life, that's the one. So there you go. This is more, to be continued. This is more predictions. This stuff is coming. So they're looking into it. That's why I bring this up, man, because there are some big cases like this that will make a big difference for a lot of people, especially with national security. It's a big deal. So I'm interested to see what they come up with that. Where are we at here, guys? 45 minutes. Oh my God. There's no way we're going to go through all this. Not in an hour. This might go a little over today, boys. This might go a little over. Good to see you, John. Aliens observing material test, a likely misunderstanding of authentic non-UAP program activity. We kind of went over this. Determined the account most likely amounted to a misunderstanding. It's like these are the like answers, though, that suck, dude. AARO determined this account most likely amounted to a misunderstanding. Like, how do you come to that? The conversation reference a test evaluation unit that had a nickname with alien connotations at the specific installation mentioned. So I guess they're naming projects that sound like aliens, you know? So they're saying that's why. It's a mistake, man. It's just how it's our creative naming guys of our projects. You know, they get really creative, you know? They call it was the program was called Zeta Reticuli. You know, come on, it's an easy mistake to make. I don't know, it's funny. Holy shoot, guys, we're at 47 minutes. Allegation that the former U.S. military service member touched an extraterrestrial spacecraft. So this is kind of what we went over in the start earlier, but they just kind of give more trust me, bro answers, what have you. We'll try to speed this up a little bit. AARO in a leading science laboratory concluded the material is a metallic alloy, terrestrial in nature, and possibly U.S. Air Force origin based on its materials characterization. I believe this is what they're talking about with the, this is like the CRADA agreement, right? AARO learned through an interviewee that a private sector organization claimed to have in its possession material from an extraterrestrial craft recovered from a crash at an unknown location from the 1940s or 50s. The organization claimed that the material had a potential to act as a terahertz frequency waveguide. Tom DeLonge's in the house, boys. And therefore could exhibit anti-gravity and mass reduction properties under the appropriate conditions. The organization that owned the material negotiated an agreement. Yeah, that's what it is. The CRADA agreement. In 2019 with the U.S. Army to analyze the samples. With permission from the stakeholders, AARO acquired this sample to conduct more in-depth analysis. AARO and a leading science laboratory concluded the material is a metallic alloy terrestrial material in nature and possibly of U.S. Air Force origin based on its materials characterization. It was also assessed that the material is mostly composed of magnesium and the bismuth present was not a pure layer per initial claims. So a lot of people have been speculating on this too, that this material that was coming out of what TTSA was involved in this, and I mean Elizondo was involved in this. That it's just there's nothing to it. So, I don't know. Can we get the documents that go over that? Hey, Nick, how you doing? Super late? Nah, it's all good, buddy. It's all good. Trust me, there's so much here. And like I said, I'm trying to go over the highlights here before we go over the bookmarks and we wrap this thing up. Kona Blue. And we mentioned earlier that Kona Blue was the program that was attempting to be the successor to OSAP, ATIP, what have you. Kona Blue's advocates were convinced that the U.S. government was hiding UAP technologies. They believed that creating this program under DHS would allow all of the technology and knowledge of these alleged programs to be moved under Kona Blue. So they wanted to take everything, get it all under one rooftop. Interesting. Does anybody have a problem with that? I don't have a problem with that. The program would provide a security and governing structure where it could be monitored properly by congressional oversight committees. Don't have any issue with that either. Let's get some congressional oversight, down with that. This belief was foundational for the Kona Blue proposal based on the proposal documents and several interviewees who have provided the same information to AARO and Congress. So there you go. So that was the idea that if they did have the material, if that material did exist, right, they were going to put it all together and give congressional oversight. Who's mad about that? That would have been cool. I'm not saying they had the stuff, but, not saying that Skinwalker Ranch is a good example of us having a lot of this technology or anything like that. But, the idea, there's validity, I think, in the process there and the idea. Rotary Motion says, is anyone, Rotary, he's active today. He's always active in the chat, man. Is anyone actually waiting for disclosure? It will only come from, there's always a heart there on the side where I can't read it. Always come from us, not them. We need our own crash debris. Yeah, I mean, look, that's kind of the overall idea here, is that the government's really not interested in giving us the truth about what's going on here. I mean, I hear what they're saying about this volume 2. but I'm not going to be surprised if the information that they provide, the details, are still not very good. You know, who knows how long that's going to be? Does it mean it's going to be 63 pages like this one is? Well, I mean, this is probably more around the hot upper 30s, because the bibliography at the end is like 15 pages in and of itself, and you have probably another 10 pages just with the index and the openings and the what have yous. But I'm really interested to see, you know, the more I read this, guys, I can't lie to you. Like, the more I read this, the more I was like just disappointed that this is all that we got up front. Because it's interesting to read. It is. I hope you guys are having fun kind of going over this, and you're finding, you know, picking out some things here or there that maybe you didn't know, or that you're getting some clarification on. But this really leads to a lot more questions than answers, right? There's way more questions than there are answers now. So that was what kind of disappointed me the most about the entire document, is that it just makes me want to have volume 2 more than ever, and to see where we go. Let me look at a couple more of these notes and see if there's anything that I really feel like is worth more than the other parts that we're going to go through. Yeah, this was kind of one interesting thing that they noted, guys. Decreased public trust. They said polling data on public trust reflects Americans' changing views over time. According to the Pew Research Center, polling on this topic began in 1958, when about 75% of Americans trusted the U.S. government to do the right thing almost always or most of the time. Since 2007, however, that figure has not risen above 30%. This lack of trust probably has contributed to the belief held by some of the subset of U.S. population that the U.S. government has not been truthful regarding knowledge of extraterrestrial craft. Hey, listen, AARO, you talk about the reasons why people don't trust the government, man. There's a lot of reasons why. And if you want to go back from 1958, I mean, you got Gulf of Tonkin, you got Mockingbird coming out, Operation Mockingbird. You got, you know, the 2 buildings situation. I know we're on YouTube. I'm not trying to kill my channel already. The couple of buildings, you know, from how many? From 23 years ago. Dude, you know, we lied about WMDs. I mean, there's been so much lying that's went on. It's not misplaced trust, which I almost feel like they're hinting at that. Maybe. Am I crazy? When I read that, guys, part of me is like, they're trying to persuade people that we should trust them more, or God, how do I explain what I'm thinking here? It's almost like unwarranted mistrust. I don't know. I mean, it's not their job to go over this, I guess, but it's my own thoughts on it when I read that from that. This is interesting. Aside from hoaxes and forgeries, misinformation and disinformation is more prevalent and easier to disseminate now than ever before, especially with today's advanced photo, video, and computer-generated imagery tools. Internet search and content recommendation algorithms serve to reinforce individuals' preconceptions and confirmation biases just as much to help educate and inform. Well, I mean, look, dude, there's going to be a lot of outside media or smaller media, podcasts and stuff that are going on. People are going to be talking about this situation. And to be honest with you, the government's to blame for a lot of this, man. If they would just come out and show us data on what's going on and not give us a trust me, bro, maybe we could move on from some of this. I mean, I still will hold my ground and say that, like I said earlier, if it ends up being our tech, it's our tech, and we got to eat it. But I'm just not seeing that. I'm not seeing that yet. And this is the last thing that I'll go over with this document here. And like I said, once again, just a reminder, the link is in the description for the entire 63 pages. And it's a lot. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. So they want to give the below examples represent a sample of the unclassified and declassified authentic national security programs that AARO assesses probably were associated with, there's that word again, were associated with erroneous UAP reporting. So Manhattan Project's in there, the Flying Pancake. This one, I highlighted this one. The V-173 aircraft flew for the first time on November 23rd, 1942. It was believed that the maintaining of a uniform airflow over the wingspan, or pancake fuselage, would allow the aircraft to take off and land at exceptionally low speeds without sacrificing high-speed performance qualities that appealed to the USN for its fighter aircraft. I'm guessing U.S. Navy? What do they mean by the USN there? I'm not a master of all the acronyms, but I'm guessing. The V-173 could take off vertically, had a circular wing, 23.3 feet in diameter. Interesting. And could almost hover. The XF-5U-1's design was largely similar to the V-173. However, the USN canceled the project in 1948 in favor of a switch to turbojet engines. Which, yeah, I mean, turbojet engines. I mean, you're getting moving. You know, Nick, you're probably a really, really good person to be able to look at this and tell us what you think. John Stokes, yes, Navy. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Like I said, I'm not perfect, bro. I'm going to do my best here for you, though. Cosmic Tally says, I thought it was funny when AARO blamed UFO sightings on the AARO car. Yeah, the AARO car. So we're going to look at this really quick because I thought this was actually kind of interesting. Paste that. Go to images here. So I believe this is what they're talking about, the flying pancake here. Can you guys see this? Pretty good. That looks interesting. Like I said, dude, look, I'll give them a little bit of credit. It is an interesting look. I could see how maybe in 42 someone could mistake that. Did the astronauts actually leave our atmosphere in 72? The astronauts gutted. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did look gutted, man. Yeah, it's if you were underneath it and it was high up enough, maybe, we got to give them, I guess. I'll give them that. That's an interesting one. I think there was actually one other one too that I thought was pretty close of an example. Where did they gave a lot of examples of like drones and stuff like that. I think it's more down towards the bottom here. Yeah, Dark Star. The RQ-3- or RQ-3 Dark Star was a remote pilot-assisted stealth system intended to conduct reconnaissance missions in high-threat areas. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and DARPA developed Dark Star in the mid to late 1990s. It never entered production, but the research conducted on Dark Star led to subsequent advances used on other platforms. Some observers asserted that Dark Star resembled a flying saucer with long, narrow wings. Yeah, I mean, the wings thing, that always kind of kills it for me, but when you look at this, it does look pretty interesting. We'll take a look at this here. Yeah, that's a weird one, huh? It's German technology, you're saying, Nick? Okay. Yeah, that looks weird, man. And it doesn't look as similar to newer drones to me. Like this one feels like it's its own thing. I guess it kind of does. I don't know. Like the newer drones, they have more like spoilers on them, if you will. Tail fins But yeah, that one's a weird one. Maybe you could mistake that. I don't know. Maybe you can mistake it. We'll leave it out there for it. Just want to give you guys some examples of some stuff here. And the Reaper. You get the Reaper UAV. Q9 Reaper. We'll grab this one too. Why not? Why not while we're here, huh? See, this one to me is less mistakable. You know what I mean? That doesn't look like a saucer to me, man. It doesn't look like a triangle to me. This just reminds me of like these are the drones that we're seeing nowadays. Or at least at that time, Which I'm sure we have more advanced ones, but interestingly enough, yeah. I think that's kind of it for me. You have a bibliography here at the bottom. It's got a bunch of links. Some of the links don't work. So when you're going through them, don't expect to get all of that. And I like how they cite their own. Here's some other source sightings here. AARO case files. All the way down. Ah, shit, man. Can we get some of those case files? That'd be terrific. Back to Twitter here. Go to our bookmarks here. Wait, no, we're not on bookmarks. Now we're on bookmarks. So yeah, that's just a really quick look at it. At the report of things that I thought were interesting. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more interesting stuff there. You'll probably find things that you think were interesting that I left out. Moody Mongo, good to see you. Hey, that was the Lockheed Martin RQ-3 Dark Star drone. Yeah, that was one of the examples that AARO was giving to possible misidentifications. So, yeah, I mean, and look, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of these could be. I mean, the reality is the majority of sightings are probably balloons and things like that. They are. But we want details on the ones that aren't. You know, and all we ever get to when they can't explain anything is, oh, well, we couldn't explain it, didn't have enough information, but it's probably just the balloon. It's probably just the Reaper, you know? That's just what we get stuck with. And that's what gets to be the most frustrating for me. But yeah, I'm not shocked that the report went the way that it did. I think the next one, volume 2, is what we really need to look out for. And this is the last thing I'll say, and I don't know if I've said it on this channel or not. I know I mentioned it on Alien Addict. I kind of gave a good example of what's going on. The whole thing with Kirkpatrick and AARO and everything is, even if they wanted to tell us the truth, guys, you always have to know they really can't. You know, if the technology that we're talking about is real, the weaponization potential for it is insane. And it's way more than a WMD. And like I've talked about this example before, that where if Congress felt like during the Manhattan Project that they weren't getting the oversight and they heard about this mega weapon that was being developed and they wanted to know what was going on with it. If that was the case, if that's how it would have went, and they would have sent Kirkpatrick to Los Alamos back then, and Kirkpatrick got there, got out of the car and said, hey, what's going on? I've been sent here to figure out what the deal is. They would tell him what's going on, but they would also tell him, yeah, you can't say anything about this, right? When he came back and did his report on the Manhattan Project, what he found, he'd have to lie to you. And I think he would do that based off national security, which is what they always sit behind, sources, methods. This is always the blanket excuse that we're given. And no matter what comes out, that excuse is still there. It's still there for us to put on it as well, unfortunately. Even though I'm not trying to do that, I do want to look at this as most middle ground as I possibly can. I mean, got to go where the information leads. But I don't think these are like facts, man. You hear this from everybody. You got to go follow the facts. Well, these are a lot of opinions for me. But the topic has been through a lot lately. I mean, we have Mountain Dew commercials, this AARO report. I mean, Jaime Maussan is bringing out more bodies. I guess he's reviewing or revealing more mummies. I mean, the topic's been jumbled around so much, it's going to need an anti-gravity bubble itself. I mean, the inertia from the topic lately, it's going to kill itself, man. Oh, man. So, yeah. That's going to wrap that part of the presentation of the Sunday news here for AARO. As we do every week, bring a new Sora video, AI Sora. It's getting to be wild. And this is, I thought, a really cool video. And I noticed, once again, guys, like we talked about last week, no sound. No sound. To get a little better resolution. God, Twitter's resolution's horrible. But this is obviously, looks like a little drone. Is this the Reaper going through the museum? But this is cool. Look at how dynamic this video is, man. It's not even just like the movement of the camera. Once again, like we noticed that last week, it's not just the movement, but like it's drawing all of these paintings. And you know what? Let's go with the prompt. This is the prompt up top here. Fly through a tour. We should have went over this first. Fly through a tour of a museum with many paintings and sculptures and beautiful works of art in all styles. So let's go back. So look at that. You got the stained glass up top, paintings galore. Every detail, it looks like a museum. The floor detail, the lighting is incredible. One sentence and you're getting this. Sculptures. That's so cool, man. The resolution of the video from last week was so much better, but Like I said, I think that's the algorithm. But we start, and look at this too. We start way outside. Look at this. All the rendering that it's doing. Incredible. One prompt. Get the detail of people over here moving. People here. Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. How the hell are we going to tell what's real and what's not in UFO videos, guys? Jeez Louise. So, yep. Very, 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 very cool. And hey, by the way, if you guys find any cool Sora videos, link them, man. You know, because I go on Twitter, I just type in like Sora AI or whatever, and you get some of these videos. Link them and let me see them. Put them in the comments somehow or put them somewhere. I have an email too. You can email them at terrestrialmaterial@gmail.com. The email's in the description. Send me some stuff, you know. Hey, I can't find it all, guys. The internet's very big. I might need your help. All right. Let's wrap up with a few of these bookmarks that I think are the most important. So Burleson is saying, I've got Grush's op-ed. And this is where we're at right now. We need a response from the other side. You know, we got 40 whistleblowers. They're going to have to act pretty soon here. Colt Hart, hey man, if you know where that UFO as big as a building is, now's the time. Not 6 months, you know, not 5 years. We don't need to wait any longer. They need to go ahead and put something out. If Corbell's got some real footage, man, something he's been holding on to that's actually good, that's legitimate. Maybe if he has an ace in the hole, I kind of doubt it. But if he does, now's the time. But I wanted to play this audio for you guys here. And once again, this is Matt Laszlo. We give him props. Ask a poll every single week. If you're not following him on Twitter, please do. He's got incredible reporting he's doing, bringing us all this information from Congress, talking to these guys every day. And it's so damn cool, and it's much appreciated. Well, let's listen to this clip. This is Laszlo and Burleson talking. Now, the first half of the clip, they're kind of talking about, well, I'll leave it for you guys so you can hear it. How you doing? I'm sorry if this is really loud too, by the way. Actually, before we run this, we can't get to the top one, but I need to be able to like deal with the audio because it's probably going to be really loud. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit for you guys.
What did you see that thing we reported last week on Luna and Gates?
Yes, she's got some documents for me, she said.
Oh yeah?
So she's gonna, I don't know what it is. So hopefully I'll find out.
Is this thing proceeding at all? Do you any clarity on field hearings?
I've been advocating to Comer and the Johnson to kind of create a special subcommittee.
Oh, special subcommittee. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
And give it the authority, because you know that would be the key thing is that it would have the ability to call in to a skiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they want the select committee, I think, has been very difficult for them to create. And so I think this is maybe the plan is they're trying to create this subcommittee, like he's talking about here, to be able to get into skiffs more easily, more access so that they can actually start to look into things a little bit more. Not loud normal. Thank you.
Because Comer's kind of told me that he said he was fine with the select committee. He just didn't want to devote resources from oversight to it.
He can't, and he shouldn't, and I don't want him to. I don't want him to do it. That's why I want the speaker to hire up whoever is needed to staff that committee.
Oh, interesting.
Because Comer's staff is buried in the Biden administration stuff.
Yeah. And they haven't said no. They're open to it.
I mean, I haven't heard a definitive no yet.
So it's up in the air. It's up in the air if they're going to be able to get that created. It sounds like the select committee is possible, and they haven't really ruled that out. I thought they kind of did, but maybe not. I mean, this is something that Burleson's saying is still an option, but the subcommittee, less resources.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you haven't heard a definitive yes yet either.
I haven't, no.
Have you heard about Grush's op-ed being held up? I guess he's got an op-ed.
He did tell me that. He did tell me that. You know.
How long ago? Like, has it been...
I've got his op-ed.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got the op-ed. He's got it. Why don't we have it? God, dog. Just release the op-ed for us, man. Burleson's got it.
Are you surprised that it hasn't been past the approval process?
I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't been.
Because when you read it, there was no
Well, I don't know what is classified and what's not.
I love how he asks questions. He's looking to catch him so bad. Because, you've read it and there's no, like, really groundbreaking stuff, and it's kind of what he's asking him, right? He's trying to get him to slip up and be like, oh, no, there is really interesting stuff.
but nothing stuck out to you. Like, oh, that's...
Or maybe not classified. It's like what's open for public distribution. But I don't know.
And how long have you had? When did you get it? This year or last year?
Just recently.
Oh, yeah. That's what I told people in the community. I'm like, if it was a year, then yeah, that could be a story. If it was 2 weeks ago, then probably not a story.
You mean that getting the document?
If they hold it
hold
for
it for a
6
year.
months, or if they hold it for a year. Yeah.
I think that they eventually will probably allow him to do it.
Yeah.
Thinking they'll eventually allow him to do it. Oh, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. God almighty. Just want the stuff, man, I want something to kind of move us forward. So there's a little update for it. If you're wondering where it's at, I mean, it is a real thing. Burleson has it. We don't. And it still seems to be up in the air when we're going to get it, but we need to get it, man. We need to get something moving. A lot of people's attention is waning at this point. And a lot of it's because of look like this stuff coming up here. Look, so here we go. Logan puts out his tweet, mummy unveiling in Hollywood in a few days. So here you go. You got Jaime Maussan. Can we get a little closer on it? I don't think we can. Jaime Maussan on Tuesday, March 12th, this Tuesday, he's bringing out 2 new bodies. He's going to unveil 2 new ones. Like I said, I don't think these are real, guys. I really don't. I mean, think what you want on them. I mean, you got to believe what you want. I trust you guys to make your own decisions on all this stuff. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but if you're wondering what I think we've known about these mummies since 2016. And I think if they're not getting sent over to Harvard, then wow, how can I give credence? And we need some of the best minds in the US to also look at this and help verify it. If there's nothing to hide, why are we not doing that? So as soon as that kind of thing pops up and we get some answers like that, maybe I would believe a little bit more about what's going on here. And then here's our UFO video of the day. This one I think is pretty good. Hey, AARO, in case you were looking for another explanation about what people have been seeing, AARO, here you go.
America, introducing the incredible hover disc, the amazing flying toy of the 21st century. This gravity-defying saucer is so cool. You've never seen anything fly like a hover disc. Toss it like a flying disc and it just...
You know what? That's what I seen. I take it all back. I seen a hover disc completely. You can fill them with helium. I mean, the technology is incredible. How did we ever figure out flying with helium?
Goes and goes. Push it and it flies like something out of this world. Bounce it, bank it, fly it, push it, toss it, tap it. Hover disc is totally cool.
Totally cool.
And tricks, play games, let your imagination soar. Do freestyle tricks and your hover disc performs awesome acrobatic stunts that are unbelievably cool.
Did any of you guys own any of these? I never owned anything like this, man. I never had these. I guess I wasn't unbelievably cool enough to have the hover disc. I never even heard about this until I seen this ad. This was posted by this Historic Vids channel, which they post a lot of funny stuff. But yeah, dude, the hover discs, they're out there. So what do you think? They're real? Jeez, oh Pete. Get the kids the narrator. Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, like the infomercials from the 90s, 80s too are just, I mean, look, there's a lot of good ones in the 2000s. I guess I can't leave them out, but the infomercial narrators are unmatched, man. Like nowadays they just don't last very well. They didn't age well. They're very, very funny. Get the kids ready for UAP disclosure. Yeah, I mean, there you go. There you go. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Good to see you, buddy. Greetings. Yeah, so very interesting. And this was also big news. this was also big news here. David Grush in talks with the UAP caucus member about becoming their congressional intel aide. So Grush is talking about dealing with Congress, being some kind of a source for them to, I guess tap into, work with. Let's see if we have a clip here on this. I don't know if we do. We have some audio here of this. Sometimes he doesn't post the audio. Sometimes he does. Maybe we can probably read it, right? Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know. That's the brief overview. A member of a congressional UAP caucus, UFO whistleblower David Grush, are in talks about bringing the former intelligence officer onto their congressional staff to work on intelligence matters, including their ongoing UFO investigation. Hey, before you do that, dude, can you drop the op-ed, drop the emails for us, please? That'd be great. I mean, if you want to provide intel, you can provide us the intel first. I mean, that'd be terrific, right? And here's Grant Cameron. It was almost 1 year to the day that I heard and reported that they were going to be putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Who says government can't do anything? Yeah, you might be right, Grant. You might be right. Let me see. I think this is... Yeah, this is a really interesting clip, too, if you guys haven't seen this yet. This is... Department of Defense Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder fields a second question from the same reporter about the AARO UAP report. I believe, I think I bookmarked this clip like 3 different times to understand if I got the right one. But I think this is the one where she asks him, hey, if there's no, if the government doesn't believe that there's any extraterrestrial or off-world technology, why are they putting together programs to study it? So let's see if this is it. I think this is it, though.
Okay, so on the UAP report, the Pentagon concluded that there is no evidence of UAPs being off-world technology, but it also said the government set up programs to reverse engineer such technology. Why did the government plan to study off-world technology if it says it doesn't have any proof?
Yeah, so as you highlight, no verifiable evidence that any UAP sighting represented extraterrestrial activity, that the U.S. government or private industry has ever had access to extraterrestrial technology, or that any information was illegally or inappropriately withheld from Congress, and alleged hidden UAP reverse engineering programs either do not exist or were misidentified authentic national security programs unrelated to extraterrestrial activity or technology.
So, hey, that question you just asked me, I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, there's nothing here, like I said.
Exploitation. So what we found is that claims of hidden programs are largely the result of circular reporting by a small group repeating what they heard from others, and that many people have sincerely misinterpreted real events or mistaken sensitive U.S. programs as UAP or being extraterrestrial exploitation.
And this report is volume 1. Should we be expecting more?
Correct. Let's see here.
Let me look at my notes here. Are we getting this volume 2 thing? Hey, John, are we getting a volume 2?
There is a another volume. Let me just look at my notes here real quick. Bear with me.
I got to look at my notes too every once in a while, so I can't give him any shit. But the guy speaking for the damn Pentagon, he's got to look at his notes. So don't get on me for having to look at my notes. You know what I mean? This guy's trained in this shit. I'm not. Oh, God, the dead air this guy's giving us is horrible.
I'll come back to you.
Oh, God. How does he not know this? It says in the report that there's a volume 2. How do you got to go find that? This is the guy talking about the report. And he doesn't even know there's a volume 2. He didn't read the first page of the damn thing. You know what? Let's take a look just for the giggles here, okay? So here's his volume 1. Let's go just really quick here, okay? How far in was it? How far in? It was the first paragraph, ladies and gentlemen. This report represents volume 1 of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office's historical record report. Volume 2 will provide analysis of information. I mean, we're 6 pages in. We're the first paragraph of the actual content. So, I mean, this guy's answering questions about whether or not, you know, if we don't have the off-world craft, why are we creating these programs and studying it? How the hell is he supposed to give us a decent answer, man? He doesn't even know about the damn report.
Okay, so on the UAP
Unbelievable, guys, unbelievable. A couple more of these that I think are interesting. A couple of reactions that I wanted to get from other people about the report. Eric Weinstein gives a pretty interesting look at this as well. So, oh man, they really needed to blow this up for me so I could read it better. Alien Addicts in the chat. How you doing? How you doing, Ollie? Good to see you, buddy. So this is Eric Weinstein. Many of you are asking for my reaction regarding this just released DoD AARO report. There's much to say. I want to think carefully before saying more. Man, I felt that. I am not unsympathetic to the U.S. national security needs in this. Neither am I, Eric. Neither am I. In February of 2023, Joe Rogan invited me for 4 hours onto the world's largest English language program, episode 1945. That's an interesting one. To describe in detail the mystery of potential U.S. government involvement in UFOs and post-Einsteinian physics during the mysterious golden age of general relativity. It has been seen and discussed by millions as expected. I was thus eager to see how thorough this report would be, combining it for search strings researched in my research. Strings raised in my research, excuse me. So what he's talking about here is something that I kind of haven't really thought much about this until recently, that a lot of this anti-gravity research, like a lot of this stuff hasn't really been funded. So a lot of my stance on this topic is, you have to prove to me that since the 40s and the 50s that we've had this technology, we've been able to figure it out, that we didn't need help from a crash retrieval program, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, what have you, right? And I've always thought, I guess, that people were looking at this, that people were studying this over all these years. And from what Eric Weinstein's saying, and I know that Jesse Michaels, I think, has touched on a little bit of this too, but for some reason, I have to admit, it's never really registered to me until recently. And it seems so stupid. It should have registered already. But yeah, it costs money to look into this stuff. I mean, you have to have people that are willing to donate not only their time, but the money. The programs have to get funded and get involved. It is interesting. So when you look at these people that were involved in a lot of this prior, like he's mentioning here, golden age, how did he put it? Golden age of general relativity. Lewis Whitten, I know he talks about him a lot. Things like negative mass, Edward Teller, Oppenheimer, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So he's giving you all of these examples, like University of Texas, Austin. These are all things that I think are all relating Bryce DeWitt, relating to this research that went cold. Like these guys were looking into this general relativity, this anti-gravity, right? I'm not a physicist, so I'm trying to put this into words. But they were looking into this stuff, and so I think he was hoping to get more of that history out of AARO. I think what Eric Weinstein expected was for AARO to pull in these older programs and to come out with some of this stuff, and he's expecting them to give examples of why the crash retrievals don't need to exist because of these programs that went dark. That's the point, that these programs actually were funded, but they were funded through the black budget, and they were burrowed away. And that's why the physics has went into another direction. And so it is interesting. I thought this was a pretty cool take, because we haven't seen a lot of this stuff. Yeah. See, now when I pull something up, it's going to bring me all the way back up here. And we get our toy UFOs again. Hey, Ollie, these are the discs that we're seeing, buddy, if you haven't seen them. When is a dome not a dome? When it's a pyramid. Yeah. So interestingly enough, let me see if there's another one. Yeah, this is John Greenwald Jr. This is kind of like a reaction from him. The UFO conversation is far from over. I definitely agree with that. In June 2023, I began asking about what I feel is an overreaching blanket of secrecy over most of AARO's files on UAP. They began exempting information without explanation on a wide variety of UAP-related information under the B7 law enforcement exemption, which is interesting. See link in next post for more information and a sampling of what they've exempted. I felt this was a nail in the coffin for transparency if this went unchecked and unaddressed. So I aimed to check it and address it. I asked the Pentagon for an explanation, but they won't give it. So what John's essentially claiming here is that a lot of the really juicy stuff is being put behind law enforcement exemption. But it's not the first time he's talked about it. He's gotten a lot of FOIAs over the time that have had this B7, and this is something that's been occurring a lot more frequently throughout these FOIAs and things that he's been bringing up. After following up these past 9+ months or so, well into the double digits of times to get an explanation on what law enforcement agency and or investigation and or whatever applied, I have received nothing. There is zero evidence that any inspector general investigation plays a role in this, given what has been denied thus far. So the question remains, why are they hiding behind the blanket? I lost my FOIA appeal when I tried to fight it, but hate to say, I wasn't surprised. The exemption is tough to win on. So there you go. So a lot of them have been, and I can't remember the exact number for the national security, like sources and methods exemption, but he's saying B7 is almost holding a similar weight. So now we have another one to try to get through. Incredible. The layers of defenses just keep mounting. Let me drink a second of water. Sorry, guys. Okay, so John continues here. Some may be let down at this report today, and there are some things to be let down about, but rest assured this is not the end. After researching government secrets for more than 27 years now, I can tell you the UFO topic is not as easily explained away as the government tried to do today. Well, that's for sure. I mean, they didn't give us any documents. I've said for years we'd likely see Condon 2.0, and today we did. So Greenwald's take is this is the Condon Report 2.0, guys. Sadly for them, I'm not just going anywhere. Those within the U.S. government and those who used to work for the U.S. government continue to muddy the waters. Both sides provably obfuscate, distort the truth, hide things, change their stories, and want you to believe wildly different things on two opposed, or I think he means opposite, two opposite ends of the spectrum. It's truly bizarre. Yeah, which I guess that kind of takes us full circle to my original complaint with the AARO report, is it's trust me, bro, on all sides. And we're really not getting the facts that we want. No one can still give us the facts. That's why we want the emails. But I guess, whenever volume 2 comes out, and I'm assuming, this is just my guess, that because volume 1 and 2 are so separated, it's got to be a while from now. I don't think we're going to get volume 2 anytime soon. I just wouldn't expect that because in my opinion, if you could release your claims with the evidence, why wouldn't you just do that? So there has to be a reason why they're separating the lock and the key, essentially. So it's got to be a long ways out. And they wanted to get this out here today. And I don't know, maybe we wait till the summer, maybe fall. What do you guys think? Or maybe at the Sillet Bang guy, look at the shiny hover disk is as good as new. Yeah. Flat Earth chats. Yeah. After this, guys, Conspiracy Mothership is going to be on Alien Addict. So what is that, Ollie? 5 o'clock. So 2 hours after this is going to be done. 2.5 hours. So let me see if there's anything else that I feel is actually worth your guys' time. Like I said, I only want to bring you stuff that I think is worth your time to be here. The Pentagon's full of shit, says Tupacabra. So like I said, this is what I mentioned at the beginning. The community's pissed. Like Elizondo, man. Everybody's mad. It's not quiet here. Here's Jeremy McGowan. He's laughing about the OSAP ATIP situation. Oh, Louis says. Okay, so I guess this is the last thing that we'll take a look at before we go here, because we're an hour 30. Jeez Louise. So this week, I kind of thought that this was going to be actually the biggest story of the entire week, the Eglin Air Force Base. So there has been, this is funny. I don't know what everyone's talking about lately. Not going to lie. Did they get Grush in the skiff yet? This is like a good example of Drake here on the phone of like mainstream interest in ufology. They don't even know what's going on, bro. They're not even following anymore. But the Eglin Air Force Base, I just really thought that this was going to be the big topic. So the video imagery is entirely classified and exempt from disclosure, yet it may be only a balloon. And the instrumentation issues were all just a coincidence. At some point, we should have to realize the events are piling up. This is giving us a little bit more context here, guys. So we should realize the events are piling up that likely go beyond just balloons and coincidences. I agree. That doesn't mean alien, but it certainly means that there's something more than that. And he's responding here to McWest. And let me see. Okay, yeah, here it is. So this is part from the classified summary here. On 26 January 23, a United States Air Force pilot gained a radar lock on 4 separate UAP. If you guys remember from the congressional hearing with Grush, this is what Matt Gaetz was talking about. When they went down to Eglin, they were denied. They couldn't talk to the pilots. They couldn't, see the real footage or anything like that. They had to actually essentially battle it out to be able to and call some heavies to let them know, as Matt Gaetz said, this is how things work. How what was he say? Chains of power, systems of power actually flow through the government. And he ended up getting that picture that he spoke about, and everybody kind of thought, wow, Matt Gaetz shouldn't have talked about that photo. It's probably classified. But he talked about the photo with the four lights. Okay, so that's the Eglin story. That's the Eglin Air Force Base situation. So once again, U.S. Air Force pilot gained radar lock on 4 separate UAP. Upon approach, the pilot was able to make visual contact and employ sensors to obtain a screen capture of the first of these objects. The remaining 3 were only detected by radar. UAP-1 likened to Apollo spacecraft. So they're saying the first one, it looked like Apollo spacecraft in size and shape, with an orange-reddish illuminated rounded bottom and top section, a 3-dimensional cone shape, compromising gunmetal gray segmented panels. UAP-1 also operated at an altitude of about 16,000 feet above ground level, AGL. The second and third UAPs were noted at altitudes of 17,000 and 18,000. So we have a spread here. It's clearly not one craft. I mean, unless you're talking about the crafts at 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. The fourth was lost from radar and no altitude was noted. Moreover, no airspeeds were noted for any of the UAP in this report. So we don't know about movement essentially at that point at all. Of note, upon closing to within 4,000 feet of UAP-1, the radar malfunctioned and remained disabled for the remainder of the event. Post-mission investigation revealed that a circuit breaker had triggered, but the maintenance technicians were unable to conclusively diagnose the fault. What's not mentioned in this is that this event actually took place. Why is that? Take it away from me. In a test range. This was a testing area. And when you look at this, to me, this is another picture of it. This is supposed to be kind of what was drawn, I guess, of it. So gunmetal at the top, the orange reddish hue right there in the center, no smoke. It's gray. It sounds a lot like the Tic Tac event in the fact of, we're in a controlled zone and, we have interference with radar. It could be us testing that stuff. I mean, I could definitely see this not being extraterrestrial, technically, or interdimensional, whatever, label or moniker you want to put on it. Yeah, this sounds to me like it's possibly us testing our own tech on our own people. I think we would. Mick West says, with the new Eglin UFO, the fact that it had no airspeed recorded means that it's impossible to rule out that it was just a balloon or 4 balloons. It might also be an alien spaceship, but I put balloon at number 1 with the current data. I wouldn't put balloon as number 1. I would put that it looks like some of our tech because of the radar jamming. That's where I stand on it. So could it be something else? Sure. But I thought this was going to be really the big, and this is actually the cooler picture of it right here. This is a nice little image here. I don't know, man. It doesn't look like a balloon to me. Obviously, this is like a fake image, but it's pretty spot on. Yeah. I thought there was one other part of this that was interesting. Okay, yeah, and so now there were some real life. What are you saying? Cryogenic tubes from travel to Mars, maximum altitude. I'm trying to look at chat too a little bit too. This report may unite the UFO community, John says. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are pissed, John, 2023 Eglin UAP, likely version of this. So this is something that could be described as what they're seeing. I still think this looks a little bit different. But, when you're, how far away were they? Can't remember off the top of my head here. 4,000 feet away. So when you're looking at 4,000 feet away, I mean, I think if you were going to use this as an example, this right here is probably closest to that you're going to get. 4,000 feet away. I could believe that potentially looks like that. I could. Sure. Not saying that that's what it is, but these are interesting examples. But we got to be careful, writing anything off. I mean, a lot of people do this stuff where you'll see drones that move really fast and they're like, see, this is proof of the technology. But it's like, yeah, there's a lot of the technology there that's not really explained of how things work. So, just because they're similar, we're not really getting to the bottom of it. Yeah, I think that's kind of mostly all I've got for you guys. I mean, if you like, listen to Ross Coulthart. Listen to him away. I guess he's got a new podcast that's coming out. Reality Check with Ross. Hey, Reality Check, Ross. Release the info about the UFO that's too big. They had to build a building around it. Reality Check, we need it. We need some information. I don't think he's got it. I think it's a bullshit story, but let me see. Check my notes one last time. Just pay attention. I guess I'll end on this, guys. Just pay attention to the word games that are going around. Think for yourself. Read through this stuff. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take my opinion. You guys, I'm sure, are going to come to your own the more you dig through it. And I guess keep your eyes out, man. Make sure that you follow along with the news. Skyfire News is doing a really good job. So definitely shout out to them. And then Ask a Poll, Matt Laszlo, follow them. Stay informed the best you can. I mean, it seems like we're not getting the most juiciest of information right now. And I would probably concur with that we're not, but there are diamonds in the rough of interesting stuff to pull out. If you do feel like just, doing other things with your life throughout the week and just waiting for Sunday to hear me go over stuff, that's always an option too. And I definitely appreciate you guys being here. We got Rotary Motion. You're active in the chat like crazy. You're always here. John Stokes and OG, Moody Mongol. The way Rich says your name, bro, is funny. Moody Mongol. So you're here. Good to see you, dude. Obviously, Ali, Alien Addict. Thanks for coming. Cosmic Twilight, Nick. I'm sure we're all going to see each other face to face there on Friday. So we'll be back around. Welcome to the show. Name everybody off here. John P. Adventures. Thank you for coming again. You guys have been every Sunday, dude. Every Sunday. Dawn, a newcomer that I've been able to see in the chat. And of course, Sapphire Elf will probably catch us on the replay because of the time constraints. But God, my lighting in here has changed like 4 times. I was going to have like the window open more, but then it puts too much light. And then when the clouds get in front of the sun, it goes dark. It's really dim on me. It looks kind of weird. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys. Appreciate giving me the time. Do like, share, subscribe to the show. And I'm filibustering here a little bit because I wanted to get back to my music here. So I had somewhere to go here with the ending music. Oh, I'm getting an ad anyway. But and I guess I'll leave it open to chat while this goes. Any other questions you guys have for me? Anything you wanted to ask? I'm stuck with an internet name I created 30 years ago. Hey, dude, I'm stuck with a gamer tag and an internet name that I created like 15, 16 years ago too. Yeah, it happens, man. It happens. But I like my name. Moody Mongol's a cool name, dude. Plus, you worked on Fable. How cool is that, dude? You were there. Fable 1 was a great game. They got the remaster. Well, they got the new game coming out too, right? The brand new Fable is coming. I can't remember who got that. I don't know. It's a company. I think it was like a racing game developer is working on it, but everybody trusts them to do a really good job. Yeah, thank you for sharing the show. Welcome. Really appreciate it, dude. But I got my music, so the filibustering is going to end. And yeah, have a great rest of your Sunday, guys. Enjoy. We'll see you next week.